It's time to start your engines and be part of the conversation. You can always ask the experts, Raffi and Dan.
Hold on. Wait a second. This is not Clutch Radio. What are we doing? We've changed our name.
We got to get a new opening.
We need a new opening. So, by the way, welcome to Clutch Radio, October 21st, 2023. Back to the Future Day. If you're a Back to the Future fan, it was October 21st in the future that he went to, but it was 2015. We have a new name to the show. We have a new opening. I mean, we'll play it a few times so people can see it throughout the show as they join us in and out. We haven't been here in like 2 months.
Has it been 2 months?
It was in August.
Yeah, that's right, because I've been down here.
We haven't done a show since you left.
Yeah, okay.
All right, so welcome back to the new show. We're about to launch it here. We're also going to, Adam Jones says, welcome back, fellas. Been a while.
See you, Adam.
We're also going to be podcasting again. So this is not only the live video on Saturday mornings, not COVID. It is also going to be as a podcast on all your podcast places where the Clutch Radio one used to be. Will be replaced with this. And here is our new logo, our new opening. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the new show. Hey. Yes, we are Car Yada. Yada, yada, yada. We're talking about cars.
That's pretty good. I like that. You know what else I like? I got, for some reason, I don't know how this happened, but did you draw straws and gave me top billing?
Well, you've always had, it's always been with Raffi and Dan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Dan and Raffi doesn't sound as good as Raffi and Dan. But then the names were reversed at the beginning. So it says Dan Rosenberg, Raffi, which I think is how the other one was too.
Yes.
The names first, but it has Raffi and Dan. That way it's equal billing is how we worked it out.
I think
so. Welcome to Car Yada.
Car Yada.
And not only do we have the name and the website caryada.com, we have a phone number now.
Do we have a phone number?
877 Car Yada. Can you believe it, ladies and gentlemen?
So people can, let me make sure I understand it. People can now call in and ask us key questions regarding automobiles or regarding their automobile if they're having a problem, if they're having
not yet.
Oh.
The way 877 Car Yada works at the moment is if you call it, you'll get a message that says, if you want to go ahead and call, go ahead and call.
Okay.
If you get a message, it's a message that says, sorry, we can't come to the phone right now because we don't have a phone. If you have any question for the show, email us at show@caryada.com.
There you go.
And we will set up a voicemail probably next week or the next show where you can leave a message to ask us something. Then we'll play those messages back.
And we'll even take show ideas.
Yes. And other thing we're going to add to this version is Kelly says, "What's up?" So I say, "What's up to you?"
There you go.
What up with that? Hey. I love Kenan Thompson, by the way, on SNL. He does "What up with that?" and Jason Sudeikis comes in the background and dances.
Yes,
it's fantastic. And Ray Pepper, welcome, Ray. Your Clutch Radio sweatshirt will now be a collector's item.
Yes, exactly. All previous Clutch memorabilia will now become collector's items.
And there is still some available if you go to eridanshop.com. If you go to eridanshop.com, you can still buy the old stuff. I wonder if I don't think Eric had the time to upload any of the new stuff yet, but there will be.
There will be.
Yes.
And just to clarify, can people text to 877 Car Yada?
No.
They cannot.
It's not textable.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And we also, I don't know if I can set this up fast enough. We have 877 caryada.com, which we will also make the link to be a guest on the show. So if somebody says, hey, I want to ask a question, but on the show, we
Ah,
can bring them in live to
it's,
ask a question.
it's too much technology.
I know.
I can't absorb all of it.
I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, this is what happens when you take off 2 months.
I leave you alone in the studio with all these gizmos and devices, and
And not only that, like I have, sound effects now that we didn't have before.
really,
Like,
so you can.
yes, like if we have a big announcement, like we're now Car Yada. We have a whole audience here. Thank you.
Ah,
Boy, they
now
stop
you're
it.
going to have to work on that because when you talk, the sound goes out,
Oh,
so you can't talk over your sound.
all right.
Exactly.
I got it.
All right. Well, this is all great, but you know, technology aside, people have tuned in specifically for car news, car information, car talk, car yada. So let's get to it with one of the most interesting things that's come up recently, and everybody's talking about it. So let's just address the elephant in the room, and that is what is going on with Tesla.
Yes, that's exactly what I last night when I was driving home from the airport, I'm like, we got to talk Tesla today.
It is it's a fascinating series of events that are uh, closing in on Tesla, and this would be the third time in Tesla's history that they've run into some pretty deep financial challenges associated with um, building an automobile. Automobiles are extremely difficult and costly to develop. They are not that hard to build, but they're extremely difficult to build in volume and profitably. So the Cybertruck, which I think was introduced pre-pandemic, maybe even 5 years ago, as a potential truck, people have given deposits, all of that. It is vexing Tesla's development team regarding whether or not they can manufacture that vehicle and bring it to market in a profitable way.
Well, I was discussing this the other day with a coworker, and I said, he was like, "Oh, I mean, Elon Musk. I mean, what an idiot! You know, he does that big premiere of that truck, and then the window shatters." I go, "You don't think that was on purpose? How many people would have watched it if the bowling ball hit the glass and nothing happened?
Yeah,
10% of the number of people that watched it because it broke.
right.
So it built more buzz for the product. And I think as much as I'm not liking him anymore because
Yeah,
of some of the other stuff he's doing, I think that coming out and saying on an earnings call that we're making mistakes and the stock is dipping, all of a sudden the thing's going to show up. There's something behind this. Like I think, and then lowering the prices right now. By the way, if you want a Tesla Model 3,
you're right.
you can
Exactly.
lease one for 2 years for $250 a month.
Yeah, it's hard to resist.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
my lease isn't up till September, and I'm almost like, you have to do it by December 31st because they're trying to get their year-end sales quota and also take advantage of the $7,500 tax credit. Then
mhm.
they lower the price of the Model X.
Oh, they did.
Yeah, the Model X dropped $40,000 this year.
Well, I think they've had trouble selling it because it is a very expensive vehicle considering what you get. The Falcon doors have been problematic uh, for a number of different reasons. Um, the also the vehicle itself, while a very nice car in every respect, doesn't have the added or boosted features above and beyond a regular Tesla, and so you're not getting enough premium effect with it. And lastly, for most people, it's just another Tesla. It isn't visually different enough to where it can
Right.
distinguish itself on the road. You just hand the keys to the valet and they just park it with the rest of the Teslas because it's just a Tesla. Now, other car companies have figured this out by making their premier car or their halo vehicle a much more visually distinctive car, or adding features that are unique and singular to that model. But I don't think Tesla's done that with the X, and that's because it's such an expensive vehicle. I think that minimizes the product opportunities for growth and expansion. Um, and then the other problem they're having is they're running out of time in the mass market segment because everybody else is in the game now.
Yeah.
And within another year to 2 years, their competition for mass market vehicle for the Model 3 is going to be eclipsed by other companies that have offerings that will either be less to buy or offer features that are more attractive. Um, the first one that comes to mind is the Mustang Mach-E. Ford is doing a great job catching up with electric vehicle manufacturing with that vehicle. And it's a fabulous car.
It is. And, my lease is up and I'm looking at, in September. So I'm looking right now at cars and the Mustang's one of them.
Yeah.
The Tesla, which I really didn't want to do, but I mean, $250 a month. But at the end of the 2 years, you have to turn the car in. You're not allowed to buy it.
Mm.
Like it is, you get it and you've got to do it. But they've dropped since January,
Yeah.
I think $40,000 in the Model X because he wanted to get it down to be below the $80,000 price point. So the $7,500 credit still applies to that vehicle. Because if it's that size, it has to be under 80 grand. If it's a car, it has to be under 40 grand, I believe.
Oh,
Maybe.
okay.
So that's why he lowered all the prices. Now here's an interesting number. You remember I had a Tesla Model S.
Yes.
I bought it brand new in 2013. Sticker price was $84,000. Two-wheel drive. It was a rear-wheel drive, 60 kilowatt hour battery, not performance package, nothing. It didn't even have the sensors. Like it had cameras, but it didn't have parking sensors.
Yeah,
It
but this
didn't
is
have
2013, 10
Right.
years ago.
And now, if you go on their website and you get, I believe the current one's 100 kilowatt hour, all-wheel drive with full driving capability. You have to pay extra for it, but it's there if you want to add it later. $74,000.
Man,
It's $10,000 cheaper for a way more car.
big
And
screen TV.
Right. That's how technology is supposed to be.
Yeah.
Cars should not get more expensive every year. They should actually get cheaper every year, but they find other things to add to them to make them more expensive.
Very true. And the model for manufacturing is very different for Tesla than it is for other automobile manufacturing companies because they developed their product concurrent with the technology for developing production. The automobile production line has not dramatically changed over the years, and building a car and designing a car concurrently is very, very difficult to do. Now, Honda has done a pretty good job of that. And Toyota has also done a good job of that, but most car manufacturers still rely on the build technology that is probably anywhere between 10 and 15 years old. And people say, well, what about robotics? What about robotics have been around for a long time. And we've had robotic welding for years. All sorts of systems and things like that we see that we think are brand new have been around for a long time. But what Tesla's done from their manufacturing perspective is they've done a great job of integrating subsystems, assemblies, those kinds of things built into the design of the vehicle and into the production of the vehicle, which is yet another reason why the Cybertruck is so problematic, because to build that vehicle, they had to cultivate entirely new production line processes, not the least of which is how to figure out how to get stainless steel panels to fit when you have a design that doesn't easily hide poor fit.
Yes. Did they learn nothing from DeLorean?
It appears they didn't.
And if you look at it, the Cybertruck actually looks like a DeLorean driving backwards. I mean, the dimensions. I mean, the front is like the back of the DeLorean, and then it goes down.
Well, and that's you're actually pretty right. the the and what remains to be seen is whether or not we're actually going to get the Cybertruck that everybody saw when it was first released.
Yeah, and I've said before, I think that Elon Musk, without admitting it, has really copied DeLorean's overall plan. He came out with the two-door Sportster first, very expensive, and then he came out with a four-door luxury car. Then he came out with an SUV because DeLorean was going to do a truck. So I mean, he's following kind of the model, but now he's going backwards with the Cybertruck. And the ones I've seen where they've shown them on the road, they look pretty similar, but they look weird. I mean, they just don't look like vehicles. I don't know. Call me crazy.
Well,
Adam said it perfectly. The Cybertruck is so ugly looking. Janice says, good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, Janice.
We do have a question from Kelly.
Okay.
Kelly says, by the way, if you have questions, you can put them in the comments. We'll keep talking about stuff the entire show, but looking for two cars that are higher mileage. Looking for two cars are higher mileage so important? I mean, with so many people doing share driving. Oh, yeah, because a lot of people are doing like Uber and Lyft. And I got in an Uber the other day. I think the guy had 300,000 miles on his Prius.
Yeah.
It wasn't that old of a Prius, and it looked fine.
Yeah. And what you have to remember is that depending on your age, I grew up with vehicles, and if a car had 100,000 miles on it, you'd be like, whoa, that thing's almost over.
Yeah.
And that, generally speaking, was true with cars that were manufactured in the 60s, 70s, and up until the computer era of the mid to late 80s. Beginning in the 90s, however, that all changed. And it changed dramatically because engine technology primarily and improvements in metals and metal refining allowed us to build engines that would last for quite a long time without rebuilding. And so modern cars today, and when I say modern, I'm talking about a car that might be 20 to 30 years old. These cars can go for 200,000-300,000 miles with no problem at all if you do three very important things. Number one, change the oil regularly. Now, regularly would be every 5 to 7,500 miles. That would be considered regularly. Even if you use synthetic motor oil, you want to look for check your oil periodically, but changing it regularly is very important. Number two, very important, get after your hoses, the soft stuff on the car. Change them out periodically. Change your serpentine belt. That's a soft part of the car. Change your hoses, your cooling system, get flushed. Flush your fluids, brake fluid. If you have an automatic transmission, you want to replace your transmission fluid and do a transmission gasket replacement on your pan gasket. That's also important, so that minimizes leaks. And then the third, and also very, very important for longevity of your vehicle, and that is get after your tires. Your tires are part of your car's suspension, and modern tires and modern suspension operate together. They're all engineered together. So when your tires are getting close to where they're either aging out or miling out, replace them, pay the money. It's very inexpensive. Tires have actually come down in price over the years because of the volume of manufacturing. And you think, why would tires matter in terms of longevity of the vehicle? And the answer is because they're part of your suspension system, your suspension components, the bushings, the various other components that are part of it. If your tires are not robust enough to do their job, then the default goes to the suspension system and will wear those components down much more quickly. And replacing suspension is much more important than, or much more expensive than replacing tires. So change your tires frequently. 250,000 miles is not a lot for a car. I have a 2005 Honda Accord with 240,000 miles on it. Engine's never been rebuilt.
Audience was excited about that.
Yeah, engine's never been rebuilt. It is a timing chain car, so it doesn't have a timing belt, so the belt doesn't have to be replaced. And when I was originally considering replacing it, I went to the dealer and talked to the Honda people. And while my car was parked out in the lot, on the way back, service people were on their lunch break, and they stopped me and they said, "Hey, is that your car?" And I said, "Yeah." And so, "You're not considering selling it, are you?" And I said, "Well, maybe. It's got 250,000 miles." And they're like, "Don't do it. We got customers with the same car and they've got like 300, 400,000 miles. They'll go forever." So that's my big experiment, to see how long that Honda is going to last.
Let's hit 1 million on it.
There you go.
On a very special episode of Car Yada. 92-year-old Raffi Manassian. His car hit.
So
1
to
million miles.
answer the question, if you're looking at a car that has over 100,000 miles and the timing belt has not been changed, make sure that gets done, because that can cost you up to $1,000. 4-cylinder ones will be slightly cheaper than 6 cylinders. But when you get that timing belt off, they're going to want to change the water pump as well, and the thermostat, because those things are pretty inexpensive to change. And while the engine is apart, that's an easy thing to do. So make sure those have been done. Again, at 100,000 miles, you're going to want to make sure that the brakes have been done, and that includes new rotors. If they have resurfaced the rotors at 85 to 90,000 miles, just plan on doing the rotors again at about 20 to 25,000 miles. Most of these types of expenses, they'll set you back $1,000, $800. Tires for a 4-cylinder commuter type car, well, Dan, you just bought some. They might be $500 if you're looking just for a basic 17 years.
$52 each on Amazon.
There you go.
I'm shipped to your local garage. You pay 30, 40 bucks to have them installed.
So if you're looking at a premium vehicle, chances are that the higher end vehicles that have higher miles, those miles have probably been more highway miles. And people used to say, well, they're highway miles, they're not as. So generally speaking, that's true. But for modern cars, whether they're highway miles or in-city miles, it really doesn't make that much of a difference. The things that do make a big difference in modern cars, and you want to be mindful of that, is road conditions. Because again, if you buy a car where you know the road conditions to be very potholy, then that usually means you're going to need to have some suspension work done down the road.
All right. And I will say I had, in 2018, I bought a 2004 Acura MDX, 250,000 miles on it. It was a one owner. That's also very important, is if you can get a one owner car, miles are not nearly as important.
Yeah.
Because typically one person that had the car for 200,000 miles has done everything they need to do to keep that car getting to 200,000 miles. Yeah. And they probably traded it in because, no offense, their wife's like, come on, really? Get a new car already.
You can't say wife anymore. You got to say partner.
Their no, I don't say partner. Their spouse. I can say spouse.
Spouse.
But I sold it 2 years later. I bought it for $1,500 at the auction. Sold 2 years later for $3,750, and had 235,000 miles. And all I did in 2 years was one oil change and 4 tires.
Yep.
And Dan Lindquist says, aggressive driving wear things out a bit sooner than manufacturer recommendations for service. That's true.
Yes.
I mean, if you're going, if you're flooring it at every stop sign and slamming on the brakes at the next stop sign, yeah, you're going to wear some stuff out. Jake says, good morning.
Oh, good morning, Jake.
And he also asked if we will be changing the page to Car Yachty. Yes, the Facebook page will probably, I have to figure out how to change it all, but it'll be the same page so we don't lose any of the historical data that we have.
Yes, it's very important. And we've consulted with our archivist about this.
Yes, the archivist is very upset at us for switching this. And the main reason, a lot of people are like, why would you switch it? Well, like clutchradio.com isn't even us.
That's
And
right.
there are companies that use the word, and it was a great name for the show we did on CBS Radio.
Yeah.
It was a great name for this show at the beginning. But you know what? If we're going to try to expand this a little bit, get some YouTube clips from this. I'm going to start doing some work on the '79 Pontiac from the sitcom. And I'm like, you know what? Do I want to put that on my page? Well, let's build a Car Yada YouTube channel. That's a totally separate one, and we'll put this show on there instead of on my YouTube channel. We'll slowly build instead of the Aradan channel, and we'll build our own Twitch. We're going to grow Car Yada.
Right. And Clutch Radio, it's just time to shift.
Oh. Although I'll give you what you wanted on that one. Oh, wrong one. Sorry. Where'd it go?
The Daily Double.
Don't give me a soundboard. That's all I got to say.
Well, you ought to watch it to hear what's the latest.
They give me so many cool things. And starting on the next show, we'll have it set up. So if you want to come on as a guest. Now, this isn't like when we do the Aradan show, we bring people on, they're the guests the whole show. We're all talking about one movie. This is, you got a question, we bring you in, you like radio. You ask your question, we a couple niceties, and then you got to go.
You get the sheep's hook. Rank.
Right. We're not adding co-hosts. We're gonna have, I could see Ray like just sticking around the whole show. No offense, Ray. And Ray did send me.
Ray's good entertainment, though.
Yes. Ray did send me a vehicle of the week.
Oh, should we do that?
To share. So we'll do this as the car of the week. And Dam's like, damn, I want to be a co-host.
You could be a guest co-host.
We're just gonna bring in guests. We have like Howard Stern has his whack pack.
Yeah.
Like this is the Yada crew or something. I don't know what we'll call it. But like Ray is definitely a character. Jake is like one of the characters for sure. And Lindquist. We've got some characters that are Adam that are regulars.
Yes.
That watch the show all the time, which is awesome. Contribute great things to the show.
Yes.
And yeah, we can bring them on every once in a while. And then also, you're Beetlejuice, Ray. Exactly. Who, me? And then we've got some live comedy shows coming up that maybe we could tie into this. And
sure,
there's a lot of fun things we can do. But for the car of the week, I can't find a stupid video. Here it is. Found the video. Car of the week. Luckily, those were never branded, so we didn't have to change.
We can keep using them.
Yes. So here is the car of the week, and it's not a car. It's a truck.
There you go.
This is Ray's classic Tundra work truck. You don't see a lot of Tundra work trucks.
That's true.
Usually you see F-150 or Silverado.
Yeah.
It's got the famous everlasting V6, Ray calls it.
Yeah, that engine, Toyota is one of the pioneers of V6 engines, durable, lasting V6 engines. And the V6 engine is a great engine for fuel efficiency and power. And they're great truck engines because they give you the torque you need and the power and the pull that you need with added fuel economy.
Now Ray is offering this to our Car Yada family.
Oh,
so if it's a 2-wheel drive, it's got 150,000 miles. It is an automatic, new tires, synthetic oil change.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it said pathetic oil change. Complete tune-up perform. This is running like a top.
Ready to go.
Ready to go. How much would you guess? It's a 2002. It is hard to find these. Ray mentions, and I mentioned that earlier. I would probably clean the headlight tray. That would probably be one of the other things I would do.
Yeah, polish those up, cut the frost off of them.
Yeah, and it looks like the car might have had a wrap on the door, or it had like a company logo or something because it looks a little discolored. But nonetheless, new tires, tune-up, synthetic oil change. Ray's doing his famous I include all fees. So
All
you pay
fees.
no taxes, everything's included.
I'm going to go 7,900.
Wow. So it's a bargain then at $6,500.
That is a bargain. I will say that is a bargain. You know, 150,000 miles is nothing on a work truck. And my guess is, judging by the condition, even if it's been scratched or bumped here and there, it's not going to be big stuff. It's a rubber bumper truck, so you can easily clean and repair minor bumps and things that might happen from parking. And as long as the interior isn't, a torn up mess, you get a work truck for that money, and it's fantastic. That's a great price.
Yeah. And if you're interested, you can email the show@caryada.com. That is our official news show email during the week if you have questions, or during the month, because we'll be back on in November. We're not going to do weekly right now because I'm busy. Rafi's in California teaching, but we'll probably do one in November. We'll probably do one in December. And then when Rafi gets back to town, we'll decide how often we're going to do these.
People usually ask me when they find out I'm a teacher, say, "Oh, what do you teach?" And periodically, for fun, I'll just say, "I teach particle physics," and just as a gag, right? or well, I teach neurosurgery. People's faces. So the other day, I said, "Well, I teach neurosurgery," and he goes, "I'm a retired neurosurgeon."
Oh my God, you're screwed. Is there a marine biologist near here? One of the best episodes of Seinfeld. See, he was angry that day, my friends. Like an old man sending back soup at a deli. Is that a Titleist?
Yeah, that's right.
So if you have any questions about buying, selling, trading, leasing, whatever, you can put it in the comments section. If you're listening to the podcast, just stay tuned. We'll be going live from time to time.
So we should probably do some of our favorite features. And one that we haven't done in a long time is gas prices. Dan, what is going on with gas prices? It's out of control. I'm here in California, and I am literally passing gas stations. $6.29, $6.59, $6.79.
You say you're passing gas?
I'm passing gas.
Well, let's clear the deck real quick, and let's talk about some gas. How much is gas where you live? Yeah, I was just in California. The last time I was there, I rented an electric car. I thought, oh, that'll be fun. I'll rent an electric car. And then I looked on the map. There's tons of charging stations. They're all over the place. This is great. Problem is, there's lines of people waiting for the car. Like here, if you've got 4 charging bays, one of them will be open almost every time you go. There were lines. I had one day I sat for 2 hours to get a spot because I was about to run out. I couldn't get to the next one, and I sat and just worked out of my car that day. When I was just there, the prices were ridiculous. Now, the guy I work with is from Tennessee. It's $2.59 is what he's saying he's paying for gas.
$2.59.
Yeah. Here in Washington, we have a couple of new taxes that went into effect that knocked our prices up.
But they're still in the 4s, right?
Well, let's find out. Let's ask the famous question: who has the cheapest gas?
All right.
Who do you think has the cheapest gas in the entire country?
I'm going to go with Mississippi this time.
You would be very close. You're off by 1.9 cents difference. The lowest regular gas in the country is Georgia.
Georgia.
Mississippi does have the cheapest mid-grade.
Wow.
And Texas has the cheapest premium.
And the price for the least per gallon is
301.9.
301.
So now, I don't know where my friend says he's seeing 259.
So he may have gotten it at a Costco deal, or sometimes there's like Safeway offers to their club members. By the time you pay your per gallon rate, you can get it down there. But I'll tell you what, $3 a gallon gas is radically different. That's half the price that is here in California. Now the regular unleaded, the last time I filled up was $5.29, but 2 weeks ago it was $5.79. And when I first arrived here, it was $5.59. So, and these are sort of the discount places.
Los Angeles is $5.59. Napa's $5.65. San Francisco $5.57.9.
Mm-hmm.
But if you get out into Yuba, $5.13.
Yeah,
Kahama, $5.08.
Yeah.
Calusa, $5.14. Have you heard of Calusa?
Yuba County and Marysville, it's tends to be more rural there, and so the fuel prices, in order to continue to serve those communities, those prices tend to be less. Central California is also Fresno, Bakersfield, also tends to be lower in price.
Well, Mono of all places, never heard of Mono, California, is $6.62.
Yeah.
So
Now, where's the highest price? Is it Hawaii?
right there in California?
California is the highest.
California's the highest, averaging $5.45. Washington comes in at number 2 with a $4.81 average. Hawaii is $4.77. Now we do have, I think, like 60 cents of ours is a carbon tax.
Is it that high now?
I think it is. I think
Wow.
it's a big chunk of it.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Well,
Now,
these
in
are
Oregon,
nice.
Dan says $3.90 average, Northwest Oregon.
Okay. And
Jake he got diesel in Topanish. I don't know where the emphasis goes on the syllable. 4.15. And Adam says it seems to be going down here. He saw a place in Tacoma for $3.99.
That's good.
So,
well, in gas prices should be coming down after the summer crazy. Because it was up for quite a bit. So it's good to see that. And of course, we don't usually politicize things, but what's happening in the Middle East is going to have some impact as well on crude oil prices. So,
and what's happening in D.C. has things to do with funding and government potentials and all that fun, exciting stuff.
Especially as we approach November and the threat of a government shutdown. Now, we haven't talked about what's happening with the unions in the automobile manufacturing world, but very interesting dynamic, creating some advantages for some companies, including Tesla, and companies that don't have, I believe, Toyota and Honda.
They're not union, but they pay their employees really well.
That's right.
That's why nobody's trying to unionize. It's like, well, we'll just pay you better than union wages.
Yeah, and that seems to have worked. But I should also point out that having had some friends that have worked for American and Japanese automobile industries, and they all comment that the general vibe and feeling and overall sense of family is quite well developed in Japanese automobile manufacturing. Honda and Toyota in particular have done a very good job of building family rapport among their auto workers. And I believe Toyota's American-based manufacturing is, I think, the largest automobile manufacturer by volume. And they employ American manufacturers here in the United States to build a Japanese car, which uses parts and sub-assemblies from all over the world. So it's not really even a Japanese car anymore. It's only a Japanese brand built, assembled, and in some instances engineered by a cadre of Americans, Japanese, and other countries participating in the manufacture.
Very interesting. And you go to dealerships, they do have inventory right now. Certain vehicles they don't, and I think a lot of the striking plants were it was a very structured strike. It wasn't like every plant is shutting down.
Yeah.
So, because they didn't want to kill their own industry. But a lot of dealerships have a lot of inventory sitting, and you can make deals right now that you couldn't before. And I think if I do try to get something this year and try to even trade out of my lease early, which is hard to do at this point because it's upside down now because the values have dropped. But I'll do the December 31st trick.
There you go.
Because
and I should point out that the same thing is true with the actor strike. You could probably hire Ben Affleck to come and entertain people at your birthday party now.
Right, as long as it's not for a studio.
Exactly.
Yeah, you can get him to come and talk. And
yes.
Yeah, for Auto Trader, we had Jason Sudeikis do a whole interview with the CEO of the Cox family, the whole Cox Enterprises, and it was pretty cool. We got to watch it. We weren't there in Atlanta to watch it, but we got to watch it via stream, and it was just about being positive and happy, like Ted Lasso.
There you are.
And he can't act right now, so he go out and be a corporate speaker. He'd probably make as much money as you do doing a small film.
Sure, and why not? He's got the name, and he's got certainly the face for that people are very familiar with him. Fantastic show, and so yeah.
Now going through all of our other things that we have here, we have an old school.
Old school, yeah. We can bring that whenever you're ready.
And we have Stump Raffi.
Oh, you want to stump me?
We haven't done that in a while. So I think while we're doing old school, maybe I'll see if I can figure out something to stump you with.
Or we can ask our viewers if they have something they want to stump.
That's good. You know what? Let's do it that way. If you have a way, anything you can ask a question. Raffi is almost unstumpable. Now,
I was stumped out here in California. I'll just give the preamble on this one for Stump Raffi. A friend of mine I met for lunch, and he brought his phone and he said, "I have something for you to listen to." And he wouldn't let me see it. And he ran it. He said, "I want to know what car that engine is from."
All right, that one's not that easy to do. Certain cars you can tell me. A Porsche, you can go, okay, that's a Porsche.
It was very hard. Now I could tell it was a supercar, but it was really just sort of a random guess, and I picked a good guess because I was right.
Oh, of course you were. When we were in DC last week, we went to the Smithsonian. I was like, Raffi corrected them here once.
I corrected the Smithsonian. And they were appreciative of it, And I was polite. I wasn't like, "Hey, you morons."
All right, so here's the opening for Stump Raffi. Do I have to say here's the opening?
Well, you want to do Stump Raffi, or do you want to do old school first?
Let's do Stump first. I think we have got some stuff coming in the comments already.
All right.
And now it's time to Stump Raffi.
Yeah, that still says Clance Radio. What kind of engine was that they used for the that effect?
I think that was a synthetic engine.
Synthetic oil. Now, Ray, okay, I thought we had a question, but Ray says he stumped Raffi and it was glorious.
Yes, Ray has stumped me. We should get T-shirts that say "I've stumped Raffi."
While Raffi's doing old school, if you have anything that you might want to stump him with, put it in the comment section.
Yes.
A question about a car, a certain trivia about a car.
The stumping section.
I will try to answer it as well. We'll do the old
There you go.
an answer, you'll come up with an answer, and hopefully one of us gets something close to it.
All right.
So, but now we'll go old school.
All right. Well, in honor of the new Caryata, I'm going to go with my favorite old school. And we may have old schooled this before, but I don't care. It's worth doing again because this is one of my favorite cars of all time, and that is the 1963 and 64 Studebaker Avanti. That's right. The Avanti. The Avanti was a fabulous car from a company that had a 100-year-old tradition for manufacturing transportation vehicles. Studebaker started out building Conestoga wagons, the wagons that came across the West. So they knew how to build wheeled vehicles, so it was easy for them to do the transition into motorized vehicles. And what people don't realize is that in the 30s, the 20s and 30s, Studebaker built some of the most beautiful, uh, very, very prestigious automobiles. They were a top name brand. But after the war, Studebaker, like a lot of car companies, had to focus on volume. And that volume was very competitive. And by the 50s, 58, 59, we had a significant recession. That put a big, big dent in Studebaker sales, and they never really recovered from that. But by the early 1960s, Studebaker, sort of through the Hail Mary pass, hired Raymond Loewy, one of the most well-known industrial designers in the world at that time. And Raymond Loewy assembled a team of 3 people plus himself to design the Studebaker Avanti, and they designed it at Loewy's home in Palm Springs in 6 weeks. The design was very advanced for its time, using fiberglass body, a 289 V8 engine, rear-wheel drive, and they offered superchargers as part of the performance package. You could get the supercharged Avanti, the engine designated the R2, or you could get the R3, which was a 302 cubic inch supercharged car. They came in beautiful metallic colors. Here's one Dan's showing now in metallic turquoise. And they were very, very well covered by the automotive press. People admired the cars very much, but they were expensive. They ended up being more expensive than the Shelby or the Mustang that would eventually come out on the market. And and Studebaker had some production challenges with the company that they contracted with to build the fiberglass bodies. So as a result, for 1963, fewer than 4,000 Avantis were built, and by 1964, fewer than 900 were built. So these are rare cars by anybody's measure, and 4-speed R2s, like the one I believe Dan is showing now, those tend to sell for now in the $50,000 to $80,000 price range.
This one was $75,000. I'm bringing.
Yeah. Whereas an R1 or standard non-supercharged 63 or 64 might sell, and these are cars in very nice condition, might sell for the $30,000 to $40,000 range. Now, if you buy a Studebaker Avanti that is a bit of a project car, the good news is that pretty much every part you could ever want for a Studebaker Avanti is available. And the reason why is because it's not a 4,000 to 5,000 unit market, because after the Avanti was made by Studebaker, an independent company run by Nate Altman purchased all the molds and all the tooling and built the Avanti 2. The Avanti 2 came with a Chevrolet engine, which was even more advantageous for replacement parts. And they continued building the car all the way through the 70s and 80s with only minor differences until they got into the late 80s, where they redesigned the car entirely, and then into the late 90s and 2000s with a completely different design, all of which you can look at the range and variety of what might be available. The Avanti was a very fast car. It set 25 land speed records when it first was introduced.
Wow.
It was very advanced. It had a built-in roll bar, one of the first cars to have that, padded dash. It was the first car to be offered with front disc brakes as a production car. And I shouldn't say the first, because the Crosley came before that with production disc brakes. First American production car with standard front disc brakes.
There's the roll bar right there.
Yeah. And up until I believe 2000, maybe even a little longer than that, no one ever died in an accident while driving an Avanti. So there was one fatality associated with an Avanti, and it was determined later that he had had a heart attack while driving. It had veered off the road, and the car tumbled several times as it went down a canyon. And when the crew came to pull the person out, they did an autopsy on him. They found that he had died from a heart attack while driving and was unable to control the car, but he had his seatbelt on, and he did not suffer any other significant injuries. So they're shown and proven to be very safe cars. Studebaker, as I said, would go out of business eventually in 1965. They would build their last or remaining production cars in Canada because the American plant had to shut down. And that was the end of a fantastic car, a fantastic company, the Studebaker Avanti.
Look at that. And this one is a very fine piece of history here.
Yeah.
Oh, look, it almost has my birthday in your year, but my birthday almost.
There you go. Yeah. So this car here, I had the exact car, that color, without the supercharger. And I drove that car. That was my college car, actually, because it was a very inexpensive car. I think I bought it for $4,000. And I put over 200,000 miles on that car before the piston finally gave up. It was actually a piston rod that gave up on the Pasadena freeway on my way home from work, and I nursed it. I nursed it home, and then towed it over to my friend's place, and he bought it for his daughter, and she owns the car still to this day.
All right, we have two Stump Raffi questions.
Okay, I'm ready.
One from Jake, one from Adam.
Oh no.
First question from Jake: what was the factory timing on a '57 Bel Air with a 327? Now, I'm going to answer it first. The factory timing was 6 minutes past 7.
So Jake is asking the question from the movie My Cousin Vinny.
Oh.
And it's hilarious because everybody who's ever been a car person or still a car person loves that scene. It happens in the courtroom, and she proves to be absolutely 100% correct.
Right.
And the answer, of course, is it doesn't exist, because for that particular car at that particular time, the 327 was not available in that car. So it's a trick question.
Oh, that's like
answered.
I have always wanted to do the trick question where somebody claims to be a car expert and you ask them to tell you a few facts about the '83 Corvette.
Yes, the '83.
Oh, well, the '83 Corvette had this, the '83 Corvette had that, and things.
Yes.
Nah.
There is
no Adam wants to know
what
is the name of the first car to go over 100 miles per hour.
Wow.
Adam, you might have. It doesn't roll off the tongue for Raffi. That means he's not. Now, there might be the first car to. I mean, this has to be the first fastest car. I mean, I don't know.
Auburn Speedsters were among the first cars to actually promote that they had exceeded 100 miles an hour. Every Auburn Speedster built at the time in the 30s came with a plaque that said this car has been driven 100 or whatever miles, it might be 102, 103, 100, whatever, by the driver, the well-known race driver, Ab Jenkins. So, but I think the 100-mile-an-hour barrier had been broken prior to that. And something in the back of my mind says it might have been a DuPont Speedster from the 20s. But there's some really fascinating information around the 100-mile-an-hour barrier, including a paper that was written by well-respected scientists that explained that if we were to drive faster than 100 miles an hour, our heads would explode because there'd be too much pressure. And of course, that was proven to not be true. But the same thing was true with the barrier, the sound barrier. They were concerned that things could happen to the human body once we were flying faster than the speed of sound. So back to Adam's question. On a regular production basis, I'll go with the Auburn Speedster. The first car to go over 100 miles an hour, I will go with the DuPont Speedster.
According to the Google, and then Ray actually put this in because I'm guessing the Napier 90 horsepower.
Napier. Okay.
Says it was the first car to go 100 miles per hour, but then there's the first British car. Oh, that is the first British car.
Yeah.
And then who's the first person to drive over 100 miles per hour?
Well, that's a tough one.
Yeah. I mean, it's right here on the Google.
I couldn't. I'd be guessing. I have no idea.
He's a Frenchman. Does that help?
Chelon Calicobourg.
Oui, oui, c'est pas bon.
Besoin de Debussier. Is it des bidou besoin? Is it right?
All right, stop that. Louis Rigoli.
He doesn't even sound French.
A Frenchman, was the first man to drive a car at 100 miles per hour. He set the record of 103.561 at a beach in Ostend in Belgium on 21 July 1904, driving a 13.5 liter Gobron Brulé racing car.
Now let's just.
Now, that's not a production car, obviously.
Let's pause for a moment and understand a 13.5 liter racing car. The engine in any modern internal combustion driven automobile is going to be 5 liters.
Right.
So 13.5 liters is not just twice. It's like an airplane engine. It's enormous.
Rolling into 5.0.
Yeah.
With the rag top down. So your face can show. Yeah, it's a big engine.
Yes. And there are bigger engines in cars. There are some tank engines that have been put in cars. There are some amazing aircraft engines, Merlin aircraft engines inside cars, enormous long hoods. And if you watch some of these, there are videos of pre-war cars where the engines are firing and just literally flame is popping out of the exhaust, and people are driving these things, and you can't imagine these guys racing cars like that in the 20s and 30s. It's just unbelievable what they did.
Now, Dan Lindquist found something even faster earlier than what Google had as the first listing. Staten Island, New York, Walter Baker's electric torpedo achieved the miraculous speed of 100 miles per hour in 1902.
So the Baker Electric was one of the first automobile companies, and electric cars were very, very important. A lot of people don't realize that at the turn of the century, 1900s, the automobile industry was actually developing electric cars at a faster rate than they were developing internal combustion powered cars. And what changed everything was, I believe, 1913, when Henry Ford offered the electric starter in the internal combustion automobile. Because prior to that, if you had an internal combustion car, the only way to start it was to hand crank it from the front of the car. And very dangerous and very physical. So women and young children could not start a car.
And weak men.
Let's be weak men. Yes, you're absolutely right.
Strong women could.
Strong women could, absolutely. But as a result of that, many women couldn't or wouldn't drive. And young children who were relied on in agricultural areas, they needed to drive. So the electric starter, the lack of an electric starter made an electric car easier for other people to use. And because we weren't driving very far, electric car range wasn't a problem. You would drive from your farm to town to get supplies and then come back. So it wasn't a problem. But the electric starter increased the opportunity for more people to drive. And because there were more fuel stations to service internal combustion farm equipment across the United States. The internal combustion engine eventually dominated the electric car industry.
And there you go. Now, speaking of electric cars, our final question of the day goes to Adam, who had our first comment of the day. He says, not a stump question, but what's the fastest 0 to 60 EV on the market right now? Just curious.
Oh,
I think, if I could be wrong, but I think it's the Tesla Plaid. It's 1.9 seconds.
I think you're right. I think
Now,
that
the
is
Lucid Air might be quicker. Let me double check that.
that's well, it might be. You might be right. But the
1.89 for Lucid Air.
yeah,
So
I'm gonna call it a tie. I mean,
we're splitting errors.
yeah, we're splitting hairs.
Sorry. I meant to hit the rim shot.
Lucid is that's a whole other conversation for another show, but because we've achieved an hour. But Lucid Air, I don't know if they're going to survive.
I know.
It's a
And they
tough one.
shouldn't. Yeah,
Well,
1.99 is the 0 to 60 on the Plaid.
Hmm.
So, yeah, it is fast. My car does 3.9, and that's pretty fast.
Yeah, eventually, because we're going so fast. How fast is your car from 0 to 60? It's so fast. Every time I drive it, I go back to yesterday.
That's fast.
It's very fast.
All right. Well, that's the show. I can't believe an hour went by so quickly,
Yes, indeed.
as it does on the Car Yada show.
We yachted it up.
We yachted it up. Now, my question to everybody is: we have the CY we can put in the upper corner versus the. And if you missed the new opening, I'm going to play the new opening as our closing, because we don't have. I mean, we have the guy. Dan, 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 dan.
Our usual guy.
Yeah. Races Lucid's going to join Shift in 2024 in the shitter. Companies that used to be.
Yeah, well, if you have an interest in Lucid, do your homework. Understand what is behind that company. Understand the financing that's behind
Arabs.
it. Yes, and
Not that there's anything wrong with people that are Arabs. I'm just saying it's the UAE's. It's the Saudi Development Fund.
Yes, the Saudi Development Fund. It's the equivalent of a government. It's a government-driven project, basically, and so it'll be interesting to see if it survives. But do your homework. Most importantly, whenever buying a new type of vehicle, always important. History is
I
very
did
important.
Polestar because Polestar is Volvo.
Yes.
So I was okay with it being a new company because it was just an offshoot of Volvo.
Right.
And most of the parts can be serviced. The entire brake system, which is really all that will probably need to be serviced, can be done at a Volvo dealership.
Right.
All right. Well, that's the show. Here's the beginning. If you missed the new beginning of Car Yada, we'll play it now. And here's Sting to take us out. Take us out. What is that? I'm sorry. I'm doing the O'Reilly factor yelling. All right. Bye, everybody. We'll see you next time. Email the show during the week. Until next time, show@caryada.com. Show@caryada.com. Bye.